Okay, hello and welcome to another episode of my random book reading, 5-minute book reading. Today I just went over to my shelf and pulled one right from the book from the stack. And as I said before, there are books everywhere. I love books. I'm finally going to be selling some, but um, I thought I'd share with you as I go through and kind of rearrange and stuff. I'm realizing how many books I have, so I thought I'd share some with you. This one I picked out is called the Acid Alkaline Balance Diet, an innovative program for ridding your body of acidic waste. And as you'll probably find out later on in the series, you're liable to find books about hundreds of different topics in my library. So I hope you enjoy this. I'm just going to open it up to a random place and begin reading. Let me just set the timer real quick to 5 minutes. And as you guys know how it goes, once the 5-minute alarm rings, I will stop reading and maybe finish the sentence or something. Again, this is reading. I'm reading out of the Acid Alkaline Balance Diet. I'm sure you could get it on Amazon or any other place that sells books, maybe even a thrift store, that type of thing. And all right, I am going to press start. I am now going to open up to just any random place. As you see, there's no bookmarks. Asthma has also been associated with an immature immune system. Protecting children against germs by using antibacterial agents, immunization shots, and antibiotics may prevent a host of childhood diseases, but it doesn't give children's immune system the exposure to harmful bacteria, viruses, and other parasites they need to learn the difference between disease-causing germs and harmless ones. Paoli Metricardi, an immunologist in the Italian Air Force, conducted a study comparing two groups of male cadets, 240 subjects altogether. Allergies were rare among those who had been exposed to three common foodborne pathogens, while the group that had no exposure to these pathogens had elevated allergic responses. Supporting these findings is the well-known fact that children living in rural areas of third world countries who are exposed to parasites and bacteria rarely develop asthma. The modern world is a breeding ground for asthma wherever factories are built or modern foods are introduced. Medical interventions also contribute to the increase in asthma. Antibiotics, by killing off harmful bacteria, prevent the immune system from learning what germs it must guard against, and give the immune system the impression that it no longer needed to defend the body against disease-causing microbes. Another downside to the use of drug medications for asthma is that when used routinely, they destroy coenzymes that assist enzymes in carrying out lung function. Chemical food additives have a similar effect. But drug medications and other man-made chemicals, are most dangerous because, not being natural substances, the body has not developed the mechanisms for eliminating them. They remain in the body, forming acidic residues that lower the pH factor of the blood and clog and inflame the blood and lymph vessels near the lungs. This prevents the delivery of digested food particles and oxygen to lung cells. Starving lung cells develop injuries that make them sensitive to airborne particles. Genetics also play a role in asthma. This is indicated by the lives of the members of a religious sect called the Hutterites who live in South Dakota. Carol Ober, a professor of human genetics at the Chicago University, has found a genetic basis for the 15% of the Hutterites who have asthma. But because they live in rural areas where they are exposed to parasites from farm animals, where fast food restaurants are not accessible, and where all infants have been breastfed for at least 9 months, asthma never becomes a serious problem. It is so mild that many of the Hutterites didn't even know they had asthma before she told them. And then there's a list of suggestions for asthma. Some of the factors that make certain individuals vulnerable to asthmatic attacks, such as genes, immature immune cells, and lung injuries that occur during the fetal stage of the lungs development, can't be changed. But these factors alone don't trigger asthmatic attacks, and the other factors involved in asthmatic attacks can be controlled by diet and/or nutritional supplements. These are blood sugar levels, adrenal and insulin function, the integrity of the lung's cellular membranes, the quality of air, and the acidic waste in the organ systems that often ends up in the lungs. Indeed, judging by the hyperacidity of the blood and breath of the asthmatic, acidic waste particles and toxic acidic gas are at the root of the chronic inflammation that turns asthma from a minor complaint, as it is among the Hutterites, to a lifelong degenerative disease that shortens life. A diet customized to fit the metabolic needs of the individual that also includes a lot of green vegetables and raw, unprocessed foods is the most effective weapon against the inflammation that triggers asthma. That's crazy. Emphysema. The trachea, windpipe in the throat, branches into two bronchial tubes, each of which leads to a lung on either side of the chest. In design, the bronchial tubes look like a slightly diagonal, upside-down tree trunk from which progressively smaller branches, called bronchioles, radiate. Hanging off these bronchioles, like bunches of grapes, are millions of microscopic alveoli, air sacs, that do the work of the lungs. Inhaled air flows into the trachea in the throat, through the bronchial tubes, into the bronchioles, and finally into the air sacs. From there, it diffuses through the membranes of the air sacs into the blood vessels, lining the air sac surface. The oxygen is then carried, and there's our time. I'll just finish this sentence. The oxygen is then carried by the blood to the cells where it is used to produce energy. It then goes on to explain the emphysema. So if you know anybody with not only lung issues, but there's diabetes addressed, alcoholism, female reproductive disorders, what else? Kidney disease, cardiovascular disease, hypothyroidism, digestive ailments, let's see, I said mental and neurological disorders, lung disorders, arthritic conditions. I mean, it's all in here. What a great book. I've never actually read this whole book. So this 5-minute reading may have inspired me to read my own book. But again, if you're interested, it's written by Felicia Drury Clement. And I hope to see you next time on Pick a Book, Any Book, 5-minute readings. Thanks for watching.